Hello, and welcome to another podcast of Jurors in Disguise. My name is Mary Rose Peterson, and I own Covert Ops Investigations. What do we do? I'm glad you asked. We look for the jurors who lied during jury selection so that they would be chosen for the jury and then could ensure that our clients were convicted. In this podcast, I'm going to speak about one of our clients. I will not name him fully. We'll just refer to him as Mr. Garcia so you understand his nationality because that is important. That is key to this case. Mr. Garcia was convicted on October 9th, 2013 by a jury. He was sentenced the next month and then was transferred into the Florida Department of Corrections on December 30th, 2013, where he remains. We were hired by Mr. Garcia's family to investigate the jury who convicted him. We were hired in 2020, late 2020, to do that, and we did. My report of findings is dated April 17th, 2021. I'm just going to read a few highlights from there. The jurors were given an oath prior to reporting to Judge Catherine Cumby's courtroom. The oath says, "Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will answer truthfully all questions asked of you, a prospective juror, so help you God?" Mr. Jackson, along with the other prospective jurors, answered in the affirmative. To begin the voir dire, which, may I remind you, means to speak the truth. Voir dire means to speak the truth. So there is a theme running through jury selection, which is to be truthful, to be honest, to be forthcoming. In fact, Judge Comby said, "What we're here for today is what we call voir dire, and that is a process in which the attorneys in the court and the jurors get to interact. And the attorneys are going to be asking questions. They're going to be asking you to what we call speak the truth. Even if what your opinion is not going along with everybody else in the panel, if you would just tell the attorneys the truth to the questions that they ask, and there's no right or wrong answer, there's only your opinion and how you feel about a particular issue or issues you may have about some things that have occurred in your life, or you just may have thoughts that you might want to share with the attorneys, because the attorneys are looking for someone to try their case that are going to be fair and impartial, both for the state and for the defense." Later during the voir dire, Assistant State Attorney Wilson addressed the prospective jurors and said, "Both defense counsel and myself were just trying to make sure we get a good, fair panel for the jury. Not everyone is right for every single type of case." Now, the jurors were informed that this was a case where sexual allegations had been made. I want to immediately follow that up with they were false. They were not true. Our client was falsely accused and convicted. State Attorney Wilson also said, "If there's anything about that anyone wants to talk about in private, just let me know, and we can ask you about that after the rest of the members of the jury are out." A little later, he said, "Now, is there anything that y'all wish I would ask or something that y'all want to tell me that I haven't asked at all? Because in a minute, I'm about to sit down and no more talking to y'all. Maybe that's a good thing, right?" Just kidding. All right, well, thank you for your time, guys. Next, Defense Attorney Gomez was allowed to address the prospective jurors, and he said, "As the judge said, and as the state said, there's really no right or wrong answers in this process. Really, this is the only time when you, as the jurors, really you get a chance to ask us, the attorneys, questions, or even the court questions as to, how you feel, how you believe you're going to, and the state's already asked you if you'd be a good juror, a bad juror, fair and impartial. We need that honesty, because that honesty is what's going to help us determine who could sit on this jury." A little later, he said, "So again, I appreciate the honesty that many of you have already said that you cannot be fair and impartial in this case, because that's important. So at this point, at any point that I'm asking somebody else a question, and you feel that prompts a question in your mind, please go ahead and ask. And if there comes a time when there's something that you don't wish to address out here in the open, let us know that so we can address it, because we want to make sure that we get everything that's on your mind that's going to impact your ability to sit as a juror in this case. The last thing that defense attorney Gomez said is, now that's going to conclude my question of this group, but I'm going to give you that opportunity, if you want to exercise it, to ask me any questions now, or if you have something that's come up that you'd feel more comfortable discussing in private with the judge, let's take advantage of it now as well. So I'll leave the floor open if anybody has any questions or any follow-up. All right? Crickets, crickets. Thank you, he said. As I said, we were hired to investigate the jury. We did. In our research, we discovered that over a 2-year time span just prior to Mr. Garcia's trial, from January 2011 to January 2013, Juror Jackson made a multitude of emotionally charged statements expressing his contempt for other nationalities and sex offenders on his personal Facebook page. And I want to add, finding his personal Facebook page was not easy. We actually had to go through the entire genealogy process, which I've already described in former podcasts, and put all of his family tree together, as they call it, family tree. We found a daughter by a different name, different last name, and it was on her Facebook page that we actually were able to locate Mr. Jackson's Facebook page. And then the plethora of racist obscenities was discovered. I'm not going to name all of them. I put 27 different ones in my report with exhibits to pique your curiosity and to also just highlight the fact that this juror should never have been on Mr. Garcia's jury. And I might add, his defense attorney was also what? Yeah, Mr. Gomez. Mr. Jackson is a white male. At one point, he said, JCP Warehouse sucks, S-U-X, unless you're a Puerto Rican. Let's band together and end discrimination in the workplace. Exhibit B. But he's not biased against Mr. Garcia. Oh, ho. Another one, he said, I want to move to the mountains of Tennessee and leave this place behind. I want to be where the Confederate flag is not only welcome, it's beloved. But he's not biased. Another one, he was talking about Kaylee Marie Anthony. I think most of us remember that horrific case where this little girl was abused and murdered. And he said, sorry, no justice for you, honey. At least not yet. Again, these were dated just prior to Mr. Garcia's trial. Another one. This is one of my favorites. Me and my kids in Tennessee, and I'm not going to show it because it has a picture of his children, but that's his page. He's standing there with his 3 little children. He said, me and my kids in Tennessee a few years ago at the Dukes of Hazzard Museum. I fit in there. It was great to get away from the Africans and Latinos and snowbirds for a whole week. It was like heaven. LMAO, I'll probably catch, starts with an H, for this comment. No, Mr. Jackson, you won't catch that, but we did catch you as an inappropriate juror for Mr. Garcia's trial. Another comment that he made is on a post dated March 16, 2012, just prior to Mr. Garcia's trial. It said, police shot, killed suspect who wouldn't drop weapon. Mr. Jackson commented, as long as the guy killed by cops is white, there won't be a problem. But he's not biased against Mr. Garcia. Of course not. Another comment. This was, of course, during the time when Obama was in the news. Obama will win another term for the simple fact that this country is overrun with losers who like free stuff and think they're entitled to it simply by being born. He will get almost every Spanish, Black, and gay vote also. It's a liberal country we live in now, against God and all this country was made of, and all that made it great. Now people just want to be taken care of and want a free ride. But he's not a racist. He had quite a few other things to say about Mr. Obama, who we all know is black. Another comment, this is one of my favorites. He posted this. It says, "This is America. We eat meat, we drink beer, and we speak effing English." But he's not biased against Mr. Garcia. He can be fair and impartial. Sure. I believe you, Mr. Jackson. I'm just going to read 3 more. "There's nothing I hate more than a rapist. I'll put your effing head out. It happened more than you think. I've had 3 different women break down and cry telling me it happened too. It breaks my heart breaks for them. Just let me catch these fuckers." Yes, he spelled it with an O. But he doesn't have any strong opinions against those accused of a sex crime. "It's been my experience that the more I try, the more I care, the more I'm resented. And yes, they will screw you because there's always another sucker next in line wanting a job. I'm not an ASS kisser. I'm white. I'm 40. The game is rigged against me." He's not resentful or anything, no, of course not. Lastly, absolutely, I'm not scared to be called a racist, at least. This is just prior to Mr. Garcia's trial. "I'm not scared to be called a racist. It's insane how people are scared to death to be labeled that. And what's the big deal? They hate me, I hate them. So what? Do I really need theirs? I'm a 40-year-old white man. No one has hated more. LOL. It's no wonder the highest suicide rate is white men over 40! Exclamation point. I'm just glad I could be my own person without being bound by political correctness or government brainwashing. Affirmative action is hiring non-whites based on race in an effort to not hire based on race. Oh, the irony. LOL. But he's not a bigot. He's not biased. Of course not. As I said, my report of findings is dated April 17th, 2021. Mr. Garcia hired an attorney who filed a motion on September of 2021 alleging juror misconduct, and the judge that had been assigned to the case, Brenda Ramirez, wrote an order denying defendant's amended second motion to vacate and or set aside the conviction based on juror misconduct. Now, I want you to pay attention to these dates. So the original motion was filed in September of 2021. It was not answered until April 4th, 2025. It sat on the judge's desk from 2021 to 2025 with no response, given everything that we presented, and nothing was done. Then Judge Ramirez's order says on April 4th, 2025, defendant filed a reply to the state's response to the amended second motion, basically prompting the judge to please do something, please make a decision, please rule. I don't understand that. How does a judge get away with letting something this egregious, horrifying, denying someone's 6th and 14th Amendment rights to a fair trial by an impartial jury? How do you just get away with letting it sit on your desk or in file 13 somewhere and refuse to rule? Oh, that's right, because you have no accountability. You're the judge. You are the law. In your mind, you get to do whatever you want, apparently. Back to the order denying the motion by Judge Ramirez. She said on December 26, 2024, counsel filed a motion to withdraw as counsel. So now Mr. Garcia has no attorney to represent him. The following day, the defendant petitioned the district court for writ of mandamus. A mandamus is basically saying, for the love of God, would you just make a decision? Stop ignoring me. Stop ignoring the truth. On December 30th, 2024, the court entered an order granting counsel's motion to withdraw. Defendant then filed the instant motion pro se. I'm just reading highlights. In his amended motion, defendant alleges juror misconduct. I might say that Mr. Garcia was told to refile it after all these years. I guess it got lost somewhere, and he was asked to refile it, so he did. The defendant alleges juror misconduct in that Juror Jackson intentionally misrepresented his biases against non-white individuals and those accused of a sex crime during jury selection to become a seated juror. Yes, that is exactly what happened. Defendant avers he hired Covert Ops Jury Investigations, LLC, to investigate the jurors to find evidence of misconduct or bias. Defendant asserts that on April 17, 2021, Mary Rose, again, my name is Mary Rose Peterson, but this judge felt it was appropriate to refer to me as Rose. Okay. Rose authored a report outlining the investigation's discovery of various statements posted on Juror Jackson's personal Facebook page spanning a 2-year time frame from January 2011 to January 2013, and which putatively express his contempt for different nationalities and sex offenders. Yes, that is exactly what we alleged. The state points out that the present motion is not defendant's first post-conviction motion, and he fails to demonstrate how the alleged evidence available at the time of trial could not have been located and presented during the prior post-conviction proceedings that spanned from 2015 to 2019. The state contends defendant, therefore, you see what's going on here? The judge is quoting the state. Make no mistake, the judge in any proceeding is the state. You think you're going to get a fair trial? Judge Ramirez said the state contends defendant therefore fails to demonstrate good cause for not asserting his claim in his prior post-conviction motion. The state further argues defendant's standalone claim of juror misconduct is procedurally barred because it should have been raised on direct appeal, as the information was discoverable during trial had he or his defense counsel applied due diligence. Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. Judge Ramirez, aka the state, and I might also add that she's referring to statements made by Assistant State Attorney Avalon Victoria. Well, let's see. Let's compare your statements to the facts. The facts are that Mr. Garcia was convicted by the jury again in 2013 and transferred to the Department of Corrections in December 2013. The official transcript was not filed with the clerk of court's office by the court reporter until the next month, January 2014. Okay, so Mr. Garcia is in prison, has no access to the transcripts to know even who the jurors were, but he should have raised it on his direct appeal right after trial. Is that so, Judge Ramirez and Avalon Victoria? Well, that's interesting because the official transcript from Mr. Garcia's trial was not filed with the court until January 2014 by the court reporter. Now, in January 2014, Mr. Garcia was already in prison. It's also important to note that those in prison, the defendants, the convicted, are not given access to the transcripts or any of their permanent record until after the direct appeal is concluded in Florida. Ours took 3 years. Without me being out here accessing the clerk of court's docket and having access to public records, my husband, Martin, would never have had access to his trial transcripts. So he wouldn't have known who the jurors were, and he would have had no way to know what they said during voir dire or what questions were asked. So he would have had no way to prove juror misconduct, same as Mr. Garcia. Until after his direct appeal was concluded, he had no way to know any of that information. So that statement by the judge and the state attorney is not truthful. Another reason why Mr. Garcia could not have conducted a jury investigation from prison at any time during his incarceration is because he would have needed access to the internet and access to public records. He has not had that. So these statements in this order and the statements made by the state attorney, Avalon Victoria, I think it's actually Victoria Avalon, are false. It's not true. Judge Ramirez continues. Additionally, the state asserts defendant cannot establish that Juror Jackson failed to answer material questions, as the questions he did not answer were general questions posed to the full veneer, and his non-responses affirmed that he could put his first personal biases aside, or that Juror Jackson was specifically biased toward defendant. You're kidding. Is this a joke to you? You honestly, with a straight face, in an official document, made that statement, saying that Mr. Jackson could set aside all of his personal biases, all of his racism, all of his prejudice, and be fair to Mr. Garcia. You truly believe that? Or is that just part of your order so that you can deny it? You can't possibly believe that that's true. The state points out that during jury selection, in response to the prosecutor's question, Juror Jackson advised that he did not want to be selected as a juror, but claimed he could be fair and impartial and perform the duties of a juror if selected. Have you watched the movie? Do you know how this guy got selected? By pretending that he didn't want to be selected. You really think that Mr. Jackson did not come in there with an agenda? Well, I believe he did. And with all that I previously read you about what the court and the defense and the state said, cautioning these jurors to be honest, speak up, tell the truth. If we don't ask the question you think we should have asked, raise your hand. Tell us. We need to know. I guess Judge Ramirez missed that part of the voir dire. As for Rose's report, the state contends it contains inadmissible hearsay, conjecture, and speculation. She loves me, don't she? And fails to demonstrate Juror Jackson made the Facebook posts. Really? So that's not him standing in the picture with his kids? And keep in mind, we found these posts through his daughter's Facebook page, but that's not really him. We made a mistake. No. The state also asserts Rose's report does not contradict Juror Jackson's declarations that he could be fair and unbiased and he would follow the law relating to the burden of proof, presumption of innocence, and the right to remain silent. The state also maintains that the defendant is of Puerto Rican descent. Oh, at least you got that right. And argues that all of the racially, here you're going to love this, all of the racially charged statements alleging attributable to Juror Jackson, nearly all were directed toward African American males. And the few posts that mention Hispanic individuals are non-specific and do so in passing. I think that's pretty specific. The state further maintains the Facebook posts show an aversion towards sexual offenders in general. The state argues the messages do not evince the kind of bias toward Hispanic people that are reserved for African Americans, and the non-specific aversion towards sex offenders is consistent with requiring proof of their... Oh, are you kidding me? You don't think this guy hated Mr. Garcia just because of his last name and his charges? Is this a joke to you? This is not a game show. Mr. Garcia has been in prison since 2013. His family has spent everything they had to try to defend him and get him out, and it hasn't worked. Why? Because you don't listen to the truth. You don't want to hear the truth. You ignore it, and then you just denied. That's your answer to everything. Deny, deny, stall, stall. Justice needs to be served. And you, aka judges, honorable or not, are supposed to be in charge of dispensing justice. I don't see justice here. The state asserts defendant has not demonstrated that Juror Jackson was incapable of putting such feelings aside, and his answer to voir dire questions demonstrate he was able to do so because he didn't say anything. That's why you think he was able to set this aside, because he didn't say anything? The state asserts defendant therefore has not stated a legally sufficient claim of actual bias. After reviewing the allegations, the state's arguments, citations, and attachments to its response, adopted and incorporated herein, the court file, and the record, the court finds the state's response persuasive and attaches pertinent record attachments hereto. As such, no relief is warranted upon defendant's claim. Based on the foregoing, it is therefore ordered and adjudicated that defendant's amended motion, is denied. April 15th, 2025. So now what? So now Mr. Garcia remains in prison, and it goes to the appellate court. Are those 3 judges going to follow this nonsense? These statements riddled with accusations, assumptions, and lies by the court and the state attorney's office? Or are they going to do right? Are they going to uphold our Constitution? Are they going to do right by Mr. Garcia? You know, he gets out in a few months, so I hope that they make this quick. And I hope and pray that something is done to rectify this. You cannot fix the fact that Mr. Garcia has been falsely imprisoned since 2013. You cannot fix the fact that now his reputation is destroyed. Mr. Garcia and his family did not receive justice. What they found themselves entangled in was a criminal justice system designed for conviction and finality. That's what all of our clients and everyone in prison has experienced. The truth is rarely heard during trial. It's easy to be convicted of a sex crime. I am living proof of that because I'm married to someone who was. Your reputation is destroyed. People don't look at you the same. People stop talking to you. In prison, you're nearly killed because of your charges, regardless of the fact that they're not true. The state attorney's office doesn't seem to care. If they can put someone on the stand who will lie and cry on cue, they're good, because why? Then they win. It's all about the win. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope and prayer for starting these podcasts, for starting this company, is so that the truth of what happens in courtrooms all across America will be heard and understood, and that it will shock you, and it will change the way that you treat people who are in prison. Not everyone who is convicted of a crime is guilty of that crime. Thank you for watching. I hope that you will contact us if you're in need of our services. You will find our website and email at the end of this podcast. Remember that the courtrooms may be silent, but we won't be. We will speak up, we will speak out, and we will always speak the truth. Thank you, and God bless.